Dealing with the 2020 Kia Rio. It has 67,000 miles on it. Very, very young car. What's going on is just we got some transmission codes. Let's see if I can pull those up for you. I'm in the generic portion right now simply because for some strange reason I can't clear codes in the bidirectional portion, so I have to go to the generic on this scan tool here. Now originally when I checked it, there was no blatant drivability issues. Ran fine. It came for just a fluid change and inspection. So we got p0867 transmission fluid pressure. So originally when it came by, this was the code that was stored. She didn't have a lot of the symptoms that she's experiencing now since the fluid is changing and the days are going. Now, and I did change it with the correct CVT fluid. Fluids it was black, but it did not have any ferrous metal in it. I didn't pull the pan down, but when I did drain it, there was no metal that came out because I took that fluid and strained it in a paint strainer. Everything looked perfectly fine. There was no metal in there, surprisingly. But that's not to say that there's probably a magnet to capture all that inside the oil pan. But there should have been shreds of ferrous metal. There was nothing in that paint strainer that I collected from the transmission. So what I want to do, we do have a transmission pressure sensor on the way. We ordered from the dealer. I'll be able to get that part number in the upcoming days because it's going to take 7 to 8 days to arrive. She dropped the car off because now it's going into a neutral state. From what I understand, there was drive lights flashing. There was a message on the dash or the panel here that came up indicating transmission problems. If I recall properly, it's a dealer. I swear I got screenshots in here, but now there's a warning coming up. Check engine lights active, and there was drive lights blinking. I want to, not those lights, but you put the vehicle in drive or reverse, and I think those lights were blinking if I recall properly. I'm gonna test drive and see if I can experience those issues, because now it's going to a neutral state, like it didn't want to drive. Now it's fine. When she called this morning, I told her to shut it down and start it back up, see how it responds, and it drove fine here. So that lets me know that there's no internalized problems. Typically when CVT transmissions fail, you hear like an airplane whirling kind of noise. You'll get that. You'll get in and out engagement, banging. That wasn't the case with this vehicle, so it still drives fine. I'm gonna take it on test drive. There is some jerking, well, back and forward motion she described, but then again, that was normal with CVT complaints, but I didn't know how aggressive it was. And being that the fluid was changed, I didn't know if she was more hyper focused on any potential concerns. So I'm not going to discount what she's saying, but I will say this is definitely worth looking into, because she's the one who drives this car a lot. So what I had pulled up before was I want to say I had the pressure switch, pressure solenoid, and the oil pressure sensor. And I do have some screenshots from before. So we got 2 DTC codes. Let me see what's in the transmission now, because that generic portion is probably not going to be able to retrieve any transmission codes that are in depth. But let's see if there's any. Okay, both of them are fluid pressure. Let me show you what happens when I go to try to clear these codes out. Let me shut the car down. Ignition switch on. Clear code. Yes, the ignition's off. Let's see if it works. Oh wow, it didn't work before. I can promise you that it didn't work. Now it's working. That was a shocker. Before it didn't work. I'm not sure what was happening. Follow instruction and it didn't work, but now it's working. So discount what I stated earlier. Glad I got it on camera versus just kind of going off of what I was saying. For some strange reason, it didn't recognize me shutting the car down before. Let's find that transmission. So it's still stored in there. That's interesting. It's still stored. There's no check engine light though, so I guess it's pending. Let's go to torque converter solenoid. There's the pressure line A. I had that pulled up, and then I had transmission pressure. Shift solenoid. So this is what it looked like before. I'm gonna pull up those exact same PIDs. So I'm gonna pull up secondary pressure and shift solenoid valve here. I was monitoring those, and I had the vehicle speed. Secondary pressure, vehicle speed, that. Yeah, so this is the pressure sensor, the green trace. And look how erratic that is. It wasn't just a smooth sine wave or some gradual linear value. It was rigid. It couldn't stabilize itself. So there was no metal in the pan, no drivability problems, and I was like, you know what, I want to replace this pressure switch. I feel better replacing it because of how erratic it is. This was some driving screenshots, 42 mile per hour at the time of the waveform around here. But you can see where's that, the pressure solenoid, shift solenoid right here. It's the light blue. See how they're supposed to, I'd imagine, reflect what the pressure solenoid is doing, because if the pressure solenoid is changing, I'd imagine the pressure would change too. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's no real good definition for testing here, but I do want to say, if I read the information properly, with the vehicle off, that value on the pressure solenoid, not the pressure solenoid, but the pressure switch, the pressure sensor, secondary pressure sensor, is supposed to be at 0. So I imagine it's supposed to be, because why would it have, before it was like 0.8, why would it have a value of 0.8 when it's not even active? So I don't know what specifically is doing now, but I can definitely assure you is different from what it was before. So these, I could change these and make them where they were. Let me, because the pressure, this one. So I got it pulled up similar to what it was before. So, but the main thing, as long as we got the speed, pressure sensor, and the pressure solenoid. So that's the main thing. So I want to do, the values are definitely different from before. I just want to see if there's going to be any differences while driving. And again, before it was, this was at 42 mile per hour. It was at 0 and idle. This was at 0 and idle, and it was just going crazy. Let's see, 60. I thought I had one with it off. So yeah, this is with the ignition switch off, if I recall properly. It was measuring 0.9 volts. So where's that? That's the line pressure solenoid. Vehicle speed, pressure sensor. So here's the blue trace, the pressure sensor. It wasn't dancing as much, but it wasn't stable. It wasn't really that stable. Pulley pressure sensor. You know, it wasn't as jagged as before, but I did have a different time base. It's at 4 down at the bottom. That's 1. There's 4 seconds per division. So my time bases were a little different. Got 4 seconds per division. Slow it down. Four seconds per division. I was dancing. So let me start it up. Let's see what it's doing right now, since it's been a couple days and it's been showing signs of failure. Let's see what's going on with it. I can't guarantee this is gonna fix anything, but based off of what I'm experiencing, I mean, I can't help but to think this is gonna be a switch. But then again, my time base is slower, so I feel better. Let's slow it down to 4. So 4 seconds per division, and it's smooth. 1.2 volts. It's not erratic. Where's our line pressure? Not the line pressure, but the solenoid. Oh gosh, this camera's not trying to focus. So I'd imagine when the solenoid starts, solenoid's going to be the light blue. When the solenoid starts changing state, let me put it in drive, because it's going to change. So it's in reverse right now. So our pulley pressure's at 1.2. Solenoid is at 715 milliamps. Let's put it in drive. See how the solenoid change, it has an episode where the line pressure changes also. Let me put it back in. So this is 1 second per division. I want to see what it'll look like when it becomes more rapid. So I'm gonna slow the table down, but when I start seeing those erratic signals like before, we're gonna capture it and put it on 1 second per division and see if anything changes. So let me drive it. Hopefully I can get this to happen. Car's driving perfectly fine right now, but I do notice that cruising at 42 miles per hour, the pressure wasn't registering the same. If I recall properly, it was 1.2 volts while cruising at 45 before. It dropped down to 0.8. So I'm not 100% sure at the moment, if the pressure increased, the value increased, or if the pressure decreased, the value decreases. But it seemed like if it being off, when the pressure's low, logically the value should decrease. So if the vehicle's off, why would it have voltage going through it? One thing I didn't understand with the whole 0.8 volts from before. But it's good. I want to give it a little bit of throttle. So right now, trying to make it to 42 miles per hour. I have a throttle probably about 10%. I'm on a decel. It's still at 0.8. I'm gonna work on giving it some hard throttle and see what happens. I'm giving it gas. It's not really trying to go anywhere. There we go. There we go. It didn't really want to respond when I gave it gas. Yeah, there. All right. But I think that was because of, I don't know how intelligent this vehicle is, depending on if I was in a turn or not straight away. I do have the AC on too. Alright, I'm gonna give it a little more gas. I'm about to go about 60%. And if this vehicle didn't have adequate pressure, trust me, it wouldn't be doing this right now. It wouldn't be getting up and going. There will definitely be some problems. So I'm stuck on this sensor being the issue. Let me see if I can get the sensor to become erratic like it did before. I'm gonna put about another 3-4 miles on it, and maybe I can get it to do it, maybe I can't. If I can't, then I'll just, we already have what it looks like at a static state with the vehicle off. I'm gonna pull the pan, disconnect the sensor. When I do get the sensor in my possession, then we'll see if the value dropped to 0. I mean, I highly doubt there's voltage bleeding inside the signal wire, but I don't know, but I doubt it. I mean, it's literally saturated in oil, so it may be some internal faults here. Let me see if I can get it to become erratic. I'll see you in a few days. All right, just got back. No check-in light popped on, but one thing I did notice is the idle. The AC's off. I thought it was because of that, but it's just idling low and high. See, like, look at it now. I'm not sure why it's doing that. My foot's not on the brake or anything. It'll drop. It'll go back up. And then, like, look at the data. So there's the line pressure. So I mean, that's going to change. But you see the pattern that it's having. The pressure solenoid will change when the RPM change. The pressure sensor will reflect. So the RPM's high. We're at 1.2 volts. 885 milliamps from the pressure sensor drop. Did it stabilize now? Maybe I had to go through an idle relearn because I cleared the code, but it's stable now. Maybe that's what it was, but thought I'd mention that. Well, didn't notice it before. But here's our pressure sensor. It's stable. We're at 1.5 volts in park. It's not erratic. Same time base as before. So you see where I'm coming from, where I'm like, I'm suspecting the sensor. Let me go back to the old information in the gallery. 4-second time base, 0 mile per hour. Look at it. Look how erratic that is. 710 milliamps from our shift. That was a shift control valve. I think I'm on the same one. Shift control valve. Am I on the same shift control valve? Oh man, you know what? I didn't have the same exact PIDs pulled up. That was my fault. Pressure control solenoid A. That was totally my fault. Totally my fault. My screw up. I was on shift solenoid valve. Let me see if I will. Oh no. Yeah, I see. Well, I messed that one up. That was totally my fault. But the main thing is, despite not being on the proper pressure solenoid, the secondary pulley pressure sensor is going to be the same. Yeah, so the rules still apply here. Secondary pulley pressure sensor. That's the main PID we needed, despite me having on a shift solenoid secondary pulley pressure sensor. So rules still apply. We still have a smooth sensor right here. Before, it was erratic. Right now it's fine. No drivability problems. Let's see if there's any codes in the computer, which it should be. Oh, no codes. So I'm going after the sensor. I have no qualms about this. I'm just going to replace the sensor and see if anything changes. You got a screenshot of what it looked like when it was causing some problems, and let's just change this pressure switch, the pressure sensor, and see if things get better. So it's been like 8 days. The part has finally come in. This is the part number here. We're gonna go ahead and get that replaced. I opened it up. I want to tell you that I got the key in the on position, engine off. This is it. This is exactly what it looks like. I want to tell you, with the key on, engine off, no codes present. This is the value. It's 0.4 volts. Let me go back out. And there's no codes present right now. I don't recall erasing anything, but I probably did. Long story short, I can't remember what I did 8 days ago. I had to look at the video footage, but here we are. Now I did change this fluid. I'm gonna recycle it. This is a 24mm socket here. I got a funnel and a old engine oil container. So I'm gonna capture that oil. I have my 10mm socket handy. Yeah, that oil still looks pretty good. I do have extra fluid just in case from the last change. There's no metal. And again, I strained it, didn't see any metal in it, but when we pull the pan down, we'll be able to see, I'm pretty sure there's some magnets here without looking. That's what I'm going to assume. So let's let the fluid do its thing. I'm gonna take a 10mm, run it around there, pop this pan loose, see what's inside, and get this brand new sensor in there and see if the data changes. Because the plan is, we know what it's like stagnant. I wonder if it's going to change when I connect it. Is the value going to drop or it's going to alter? What is it going to look like? Two, let's move some wires around and see if the values change also in the PID data. I don't know, it could be a wire related problem. Let's just see if we tap the sensor, move it around, does it have any sort of influence on the voltage? I'm gonna take this plug, put it back. I don't know how much is gonna come out, but whatever comes out, I'm just gonna capture in the pan and replace what needs to be replaced with the brand new fluid. So as long as I recycle about 95%, I'm fine. So here's the inside of the pan here. I mean, I would consider this normal metal. Nothing crazy. I mean, you're going to expect some metal to get on the magnets, but as long as there's not any chunks, I mean, I'd imagine we'll be fine. Let's put this off to the side. There's the sensor here. I got my data still pulled up. Didn't take no more than 3 minutes to pull this down. Before it was 0.4 volts. Let's see if it changes. So right now, we're still at 0.4. I'm just gonna move the sensor around and see if it changes anything. Let's disconnect it, see if it changes. I think let's see. It goes to 0 when you disconnect it. I'm gonna pull it out, reconnect it, tap on it, see if it changes. I mean, I don't know. Just playing around with it at the moment. But right now, I can tell you we don't have any connector problems in the harness here in the transmission. We're gonna have to pull this filter out. It's 10mm, and I'm just gonna hit everything with some brake cleaner. I'm not gonna change it. The car only has 60,000 miles on it. So now we have clear access to the pressure sensor. So it's gonna be a 24 millimeter, same as the drain plug. So I'm gonna see if I can fit this on there and pull it out without having to take anything additional. I don't have the thin wall socket. Seems like this probably needed. Okay, yeah, that came out no problem. So we're gonna hook this back up, see if there's any change. Also, I'm gonna look for any obstruction while it's out. No obstruction. No, the pressure wasn't the problem, I want to say. Ultimately, I'm just theorizing here because of the symptoms that we got going on. Because if there was a pump pressure, like I keep saying, we would not have any operation, because the system relies on pressure, just like the heart relies on blood pressure. Well, the body relies on blood pressure. So I got it. It's still at 0.4. Just tapping on it. Nothing's changing. Went back to 0. All right, moment of truth. I'm gonna hook up the new one. It's not to say that the new one may not have the same default voltage, because it may have a range that it needs to stay in. But let's see what happens. I imagine it'll be close to. Okay, this one's at 0.5, the new one. But maybe with the old one, it just couldn't. It was range bound. Maybe it just couldn't go around a particular threshold. But at the same time, looking at the data and what I was experiencing, it was erratic, so it couldn't stabilize. So I'm just formulating randomized conclusions, because it could be anything. I mean, but from what I've seen, snug it right there, it was erratic. I want to fix that erratic signal. Let's see if this will resolve it. Get this in there. I'm gonna clean the area. This gasket can be reused. I'm gonna break my neck over it. Just gonna wipe it down, and I'm just gonna clean the pan up really good, clean the magnets, pop it back in there. Well, I gotta put the filter in there first. So while I have it out, I was inspecting the gaskets O-rings, the filter O-rings, make sure they weren't compromised. But again, we were dealing with erratic signals. It had good pressure, went into a neutral state, but only because of potentially a bad sensor. So it would be worth, if yours went into a neutral state, make sure there's no ruptures or the gasket, the filter O-ring isn't flat. These are fine. So I'm gonna clean this filter with some brake cleaner and install it in reverse order. Clean the pan, the magnets, brake clean, get it installed in reverse order, and let's see if anything changes. If you're wondering where you fill it up at, you got the pan here. Here's the drain plug. It's gonna be that same 24 millimeter we used to pull the drain plug out, the oil pan, and the sensor. This is what we pull out, get the car on level ground. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a funnel, long hose, and get the hose to sit inside of there, get it level, drop, start it up, fill it up until it start coming out. Once it level out with the car in park and running, pull the hose, replace the drain plug, close it up, Call it a day. So this is my setup. I got a funnel. I got another piece of hose in there that goes into another piece of hose. It's 11/32 if I recall. Look down at the bottom. Right there. So it's going right into that pipe. There's the larger hose going to the reduction, going right into the hole. So here's our value with the new sensor. I'm in drive right now. I'm sorry, reverse. And now I'm in neutral drive. And I'm gonna go back to park. Let's give it the focus. So here we are in park. If I apply the brake, this should change. Yeah, it does change. But look how it works now when I apply the brake. Look how much it jumps up. I gotta reverse. Let's put it back in park. It seems like it has a wider range, unlike before, because it will only go up to 1.4 if I recall properly. If I recall, don't hold me on that. Mine just like many days ago. And this. Let's see here. Let's apply the brake. It's more sinusoidal now. See how comfortably it moves versus it being erratic? Let's put it in reverse. Yeah, look at that. It's not just one or the other. I mean, it has that smooth transition. So the biggest telltale is going to be when I drive it. You know, how does it respond? Because remember, it was erratic, and that's going to be in the old other portion of the video, the beginning portion. So this is without me backpedaling, because I work on so many complex things I can't remember every single thing here. So I think I need, we got the primary, I want the, I'm trying to see if I can get those same PIDs pulled up. So now I have the correct solenoid pull up, because I think I had secondary pressure or something like that. But I noticed that these were more mirroring of one another. So that's why I got these two pulled up. I'm pretty sure they operate in different states. I don't know. I need something I can compare it to. So pressure solenoid, A, line pressure, secondary pressure sensor. We got an overall pressure sensor, and then we have line pressure control solenoid. So this is why I have these two pulled up. But look at, so our blue trace is going to be our pressure sensor. Now remember, before it was jagged at times. Now I'm going to drive it, put some miles on it, see how it responds. But look at how it's mirroring this pressure control solenoid A. Is more sensitive to its movement now. Look at that. It's more sensitive to its movement, unlike before. Because before, if I recall properly, the pressure control solenoid would move, but the pressure sensor would not reflect on incremental movements. Now it's just the pressure solenoid moves, the pressure sensor reacts. So let me drive this. Let me get my fluid correct. Again, I'm going to show you that and demonstrate it so you'll see it. All we need to see is just like checking gear oil, but with the automatic transmission. It's idle, and you went through your gears. Hold it for 2 seconds, reverse. Hold it in neutral for 2 seconds. Hold it in drive for 2 seconds. Back in park. Now we'll take our hose out and see if it's draining. If so, replace the plug, go on a test drive. let me show you one thing. I haven't even gone anywhere, and it was a big difference in the voltage value, because before it was stuck in like I want to say around 2-volt range. Look at it now. I'm in reverse. I just gradually go back, give it a little gas. Look at it, it goes almost to 5 volts. That is a big difference from before. If this don't, I'm not gonna claim it, but I feel good about the replacement. I feel good about how I analyze things despite not having any code setting criteria. But this range here gives me a lot more reassurance that we actually fixed the problem. So let me take it on a nice test drive. We're gonna make sure there's no codes present. And yeah, no codes present. Pull up those same PIDs. I'm gonna put 10 miles on it, see how it operates, see how satisfied it is. But I can tell you, man, before this wouldn't control line pressure A, make sure I get those, and pressure pulley sensor. So I can tell you this is way better than before, because it was stuck in a purgatory. It just wasn't going outside that realm of 0.8 to I swear it was like 1.7, 2 volts maybe. But now we have our full range of motion from I want to say about 0 all the way up to 5 volts. So this is a really good sign here. I just got back off about an 8-mile test drive, I want to say. So one thing I did have to do, it kind of went into like a neutral state when I tried to pull off like from the side road or something. After let me see here we go. So after I backed out the driveway, went down about 30 feet, came to a stop to go to pull off, it went to a neutral state. So I went to special functions and I pulled back up and reset auto trans adaptive values that help, and that's when I started driving. Got the 6 to 8 miles test driven. I don't know if any codes present. Nope. Okay, no codes present. So let me drive it a little more, get about 20 miles on here and see how it responds and make sure there's no more check engine light codes. So tomorrow I may have to drive it again, but I'm going to put some more miles on it. Typically the issue will come daily, and it hasn't came back the mileage that I've driven. Usually it would. So let me get on the highway this time and see how it responds. All right. I got about 48 to 50 miles put on there total. I forgot to set the trip. So once I reset it, I got 34 miles on here, but you can look back at the video and see that the total mileage has changed. So let me show you that this vehicle has no codes present. And we're in a transmission control module right now. There's no codes present. And to prove that out, I'm going to go into the generic portion and show you that the drive cycle has been completed on this vehicle. Oh, let's see. So the drive cycle, oh goodness. Sorry, a phone call come in. So the drive cycle pretty much is a data set that allows the emission components to go through a particular set of events to ensure that the testing measures for those components have been cleared. And I just want to show you that they're all fine. There's no codes. So we have monitors incomplete, 0. So all those are fine. So all 8 have been checked and registered. Those are all emissions related components for environmental purposes. Now I'm going to the generic portion to check to see if there's any codes in the global feature. There's no codes present. This transmission issue is fixed. Now, one thing in hindsight, I would say I wish I would have changed the transmission filter while I was in there, but again, we didn't know this was going to fix the problem. Now, even though I had 80% conviction based off the data I've seen, yeah, I should have replaced it, but we had to go to the dealer, get the part. I didn't think too much about it. The fluid looked perfectly fine. The filter looks fine when I pull it out. Magnets clean. I think we were okay. So we got fresh fluid in here. I think we'll be fine for another 50,000 miles or close to the 100,000. Then the filter can be changed. But I don't know how long she's going to keep this Kia because of its common thing with not just motors, but problems. Hell, I just had a customer a few days ago, car caught on fire. It was a Kia. I think she watched my videos too. Yeah, let's see here. So other than that, if you want me to do a complete scan here, let's go to Kia Rio. I can do a complete scan, prove everything out. There's nothing in the engine or transmission again. But the labor time was about, I would say about an hour and a half. You can probably push for 2 hours to replace that pressure sensor. Oh, what's this? Oh, what's this here? Is there a code there? I've never seen that before. I wonder what's this here for. Let me see how it responds in drive. It goes in new reverse and goes in drive. Well, that's interesting. I have to look up 1630 there. I mean 1603. I'm not sure what that means, but that literally just popped up. Let me make sure I'm in the right car for one, because I probably went to the wrong vehicle. I did have another Kia here, and I don't want to make sure I got went to the. No, it's the Kia Rio. Yeah, that was 2020 Kia Rio. Yeah, let me look up that date, that information, see what that is, because I don't. That's new. I don't know how that popped up. 1603. 1 second. What's interesting is when I put in 1603 in Identifix, nothing comes up. So I don't understand. And usually the bidirectional portion is pretty detailed. That's weird. This is new. I'm not gonna break my neck over it because it's working now. The original problem's fixed. I'm gonna allow the vehicle to still get shipped off because there's no, wait a minute, and the drive light, those are all blinking. Let me shut it down for a second. Is it because I'm in the transmission control module? Let me make certain that's not the case. Let me exit out of it, and let me exit out fully. That's interesting. Yeah. Let me see if there's any drivability problems. Let me take it around. So that's weird. I wound up going to the global portion. If I can get this computer to sit up right here. I went into the global portion and there's no codes in there. There's no check engine light. The part light's flashing. This is strange. There's no definition for this code. Let me try Google and see what the code states. Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do a reset for the transmission control module, because that's new. That was interesting that just popped up. There's no drivability problems or anything. The pressure switch is fixed. See if the part light stopped flashing. No, it's still flashing. Let's see if there's any codes. Yeah, it's still there. That is interesting. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to let the customer know about this one, because this was a new one right here. But the primary problem is resolved, and if the car got to come back, we'll look more into this one. But I can't begin to tell you this is like perfect time, because the customer's coming by to pick up the car even after I've driven the car 50 miles with no problems, and then this happens. Yeah. So I gotta be transparent, let them know what's going on, but the original issue we took care of is fixed. If it comes back for any problems, I'll definitely let you know. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, had a reference on my work. See you on next one.